If you want to talk to kids about boundaries and consent, or if you've ever struggled on how to teach kids about this topic, this video is for you. It can feel really scary to talk to our young kids about topics like consent because it sometimes can feel like the topics are too advanced for young kids. But in reality, early childhood is the perfect time to set the foundation for understanding what healthy boundaries and bodily autonomy looks like. These early lessons have a powerful impact on kids' development. And kids who learn about boundaries and consent are better able to ask for what they need, speak up in difficult situations, show respect to themselves and others, and understand that they have control over their own bodies. Most importantly, teaching young people these skills will tell them that they are safe and valued in your environment. The beautiful thing about teaching consent and boundaries is that these topics come up naturally throughout our day, whether we realize it or not. For example, if you're a teacher and you invite students into the classroom in the morning, you can give them options for how they want to engage with you to say hello or say good morning. For example, they might want to speak and just say, "Hi, good morning." They might want to give a high five, or maybe that day they want a hug. Give them options to show them that they're in charge of their body and how they interact with the people around them, and that you value what they are bringing to the space and the mood and mindset that they're in today. It also gives you a lot of information about how they're coming into the space. So that's just an extra bonus. Now, if you're at home or at school during playtime, when kids are playing and one kid wants to play with the toy that someone else is already playing with, you have the opportunity to say, "Hey, Sarah, do you mind sharing that toy?" And that gives Sarah the opportunity to express consent and show a willingness to share, or to deny consent in that case and say that she doesn't want to share the toy. Now, if that's the case, you can work on other ways to talk about sharing, but it does show that consent matters and that asking for permission is important. Another way you can model consent and boundaries is just by asking for permission before you physically engage with students or kids. So, for example, if you're coming over to their table, you might say, "Hey, is it okay if I sit next to you?" Or you might say, "Hey, do you mind if I grab this off your desk?" These are really mini moments that you can show that you value their opinion and that you care about respecting their boundaries and space. Now, here are some helpful phrases that you might be able to use throughout the day. You can say, "Hey, remember, your body belongs to you." You can say no to hugs. You can remind kids, "Hey, don't forget to ask before you offer a hug." You can also remind kids to check in with one another and ask, "Hey, are you okay with this?" And practicing that, "Hey, are you okay with this?" multiple times a day can get kids really into the habit of asking before they come into someone's personal space or touch someone's personal belongings. You also might want to call out when you see body language happening that kids might not be picking up on. So, for example, "Hey, it looks like Billy might not be comfortable with what you're doing." And that encourages kids to start to notice body language and other cues that might inform them about whether someone is giving consent or not. And finally, always remind kids that they can change their mind. So, yesterday you gave me a hug, but today you don't feel like it. That's okay. Or you were in a mood earlier to play and now you don't really want to play. That's okay. You're allowed to change your mind. We also want to keep in mind that kids may come from different cultural backgrounds and identities that have different feelings about personal space and boundaries. So making sure that in our classroom spaces and at home when we have other kids over who may come from different backgrounds, remembering that consent and bodily autonomy and body boundaries are really important to keep in mind, because we know that some kids might practice and experience those differently. Now, as anyone who works with young kids or has young kids know, kids are going to try to push boundaries. That's just what they do, and it's perfectly normal. We can continue to hold the line and stay firm and clear about what the boundaries are. And you can practice this with yourself, right? Setting a boundary for your child or for your student just to give them the chance to practice engaging in boundaries. So you might say, "Hey, I'm not in the mood to play right now. So can you go work on something else or do your homework?" And then if they're consistently asking you to play, you can keep holding that boundary. "Hey, I've had a long day and I'm not in the mood to play right now." That just gives them that idea that people make something clear and say what they're willing and able to do, and then they can stick with that. So in the moments when kids are really pushing the boundaries, be sure to stay calm and stay direct and matter of fact about what you're trying to express. Clearly restate the boundary. Help kids find the words to ask for consent. So practice coming up with those questions that they might need to ask whether something's okay. And then definitely acknowledge their feelings while maintaining your limits. So, for example, if your child wants to tickle you and you really aren't in the mood for being tickled and they get upset or sad when you say no, you can acknowledge their feelings and say, "Hey, I can see that this is making you sad, and I'm really sorry that you feel sad, but right now I don't want to be tickled." And so that clearly states the boundary, it sets the tone for consent, and it also acknowledges their feelings and the hurt or sadness they might be experiencing at facing this boundary. Now, the great thing about boundaries is the more you practice them, the more kids get used to accepting and respecting them. And so maybe the next time they want to do that thing, they are going to feel a little less sad, a little less hurt by your boundary. Now, with young kids, visual cues can be very helpful. So, for example, in a classroom, you might have a picture that shows all the different ways they might engage with you before school as they're coming in the door. And this visual cue can be really helpful for kids to remind them, one, that they actually do have a choice, and two, what those choices might be. Other visual cues you might use would be pictures of emotions or folks expressing different types of feelings. And that would be a really good way to practice understanding how someone else is feeling and reading body language. Now, as kids start to get more comfortable with consent and boundaries and asking for consent and respecting, understanding, and setting their own boundaries, we can start to deepen this learning. So we can do this by practicing boundary setting in different situations. So maybe you've typically practiced boundary setting in terms of physical touch, and now you want to move towards boundary setting in terms of how we play and engage with one another. Another advanced concept would be to talk about how to stick up for someone else's boundaries. So, what do you do when you see a friend who may be pushing past someone else's boundaries? How can you safely step in and remind that person that boundaries matter and that they need to respect people's boundaries? You also might want to talk about how boundaries look different in different places. So, for example, at home, it might be okay to go up and kiss your parent, but at school, you're not going to go up and kiss your teacher. So boundaries can look different with different people, and they can also look different in different settings. So at home, it might be okay to dress a certain way or act a certain way or engage with each other in a certain way. But then when we're out at the grocery store or if we're out at a restaurant, we're going to act differently. So kids can start to learn, what do boundaries look like in different settings, and how does consent look different when we're at different places. It's so important to remember that this is not a one-time practice. Teaching boundaries and consent is ongoing daily practice. Whenever you see the opportunities to infuse it into the school day or into your whole life, that's a great way to strengthen those skills for your kids. And remember too, every time we respect our child's no, that shows them that their boundaries and their consent matters. Now, of course, there's sometimes we can't do this, right? Sometimes we have to engage in physical care, for example, and we can't wait for the child's consent if they're not willing to give it. And in these cases, it's really helpful to just explain why we're having to do the thing, even though the child doesn't want us to, right? So your kid does not want to take a bath tonight, but it's bath night and they really need it. So just explaining, hey, I'm doing this because it's my job to take care of you, and this is part of taking care of you. Now, I know it's not what you want to do right now, and I'm really sorry. And I do respect your opinion and what you want to do with your body. But in this moment, we have to take a bath because it's part of me taking care of you. And the same can be said at school, right? So maybe a kid does not want to go to art class, but they, of course, have to go. It's time for art. So explaining to them, hey, I know you don't want to do this, and this is the schedule we have to follow. And this is how we keep the school day running smoothly for everyone in our class. So I'm really sorry that we have to do something that you don't want to do right now, but this is how we work here at school to make everything function for everyone. But we can continue to reinforce these ideas when we ask them for consent, when we're able to, when we set a boundary and keep it, when we ask before we engage in physical touch and contact, and when we demonstrate what it looks like to show consent. I really hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to our channel to learn more about social justice and education and how to engage with kids in meaningful and justice-centered ways.